You've got to take out the denominator. That's exactly it. Remember that? Remember Hitman? Whenever you see those fractions, think about my goofy stories, right? Hitman, take it out. That's the first thing you're going to do. So what's the common denominator here? What's the only denominator here? 2. What do you do with it? Equal treatment. The Hitman hits everybody equally. I don't know. It doesn't work. But whatever. Everybody gets 1. 2, 2, 2, right? And this one takes it out. The other 2 are going to multiply because there's no denominator. You guys tracking with me? So the first one cancels. That's his job in life, to take out denominators. The other 2, there's no denominator for the 15 or the 9, so they just multiply. Remember, that's what it does. If there's something to cancel, it cancels. If there's not, it just multiplies. James?
That takes out the x too?
No, just denominators.
Okay.
Denominators. So remember what we're trying to do. Get rid of denominators. Right? So it gets rid of that denominator. So x plus, and then 2 times, these guys just multiply. What's that, 30? And these guys multiply. You can use calculators for everything. 18. Good to there? No more fractions. It's always better when there's no more fractions, huh? So that's why we always do the common denominator thing. Boom, boom, boom. And now how do we finish solving for x? Now it's just minus 30, huh? It's always easy once the fractions are gone. That's why my advice is always get rid of the fractions on the first step. Just get them out of there. So x is less than or equal to, what is that? Minus 12. So that was option C, right? On that, yeah.
Because last time you said we have to, the answer is negative, I have to change the
Good question. Yeah, it's if you divide, not if the answer. Let me show you. Really good question. I know a lot of people probably have that question. Yeah, what it is, when you flip the symbol, is you flip the symbol not just when the answer is negative, or specifically when you divide by negative. So let me give you an example of that. Say you had negative 2x less than or equal to 10 or something, right? And in fact, let me just make it negative 10. So what would I do, when you have negative 2x, how do you get x alone? Divide. And whenever we divide by the identical twin. Same sign, same everything, right? So I would divide both sides by negative 2, right? Notice I'm dividing by a negative. I'm putting a negative under the bar, right? That's when you flip the symbol. When you put a negative under the bar, you got to turn the symbol the other way. Does that make sense? So that's x greater than or equal. Now look, what is the answer here? 2 negatives? It's actually a positive answer, so it has nothing to do with the sign of the answer. This answer actually came out positive. You flip because of what you put under the bar. See, what did I put? Did I ever put a negative under the bar? You go, well, what about that? No, that's not divide. That's subtract. That's not under a bar. There's no bar there, is there? That's just subtraction. That's not dividing. It's only when you divide by a negative under the bar that you flip the symbol. That makes sense on that? That's a good question. What if you have a positive? Like what if you have 2x greater than or equal to negative 10? What would I do to solve? Let's look at that one real quick. What would I do to solve that one? Divide. And what do we always divide by? The identical twin. So I would divide both sides by 2, because that's the identical twin of what's next to x. Would I flip the symbol there? No. Not a negative. This, the 2. Remember the thing you're dividing by. Even though, look, the answer comes out negative, but I don't care about the answer. I care about what I'm dividing by. And only if I'm dividing by negative does it flip. Good question. Other questions on that one? Yeah.
So what if you multiply negative?
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, you have a good mind for that. Yeah, it's true. If you multiply by negative, it also needs to flip. We do that so rarely that I just don't bother to mention it because I don't want to give you too much information, but you're right. Good point. No. So you multiplied by negative?
Yeah, because I did like
the problem we just solved?
Yes.
Okay, here, let me write it out again. So x over 2, what was it? X over 2 plus 15 less or equal to 9. Plus 15. Okay, so what did you do in the first step?
Because I moved negative 15 to 9 and then subtract 6 minus 6, right?
Okay, yeah, here's another way you could do this problem. That's okay, that's totally right. That, probably some of you guys did it this way too. This is fine. And then what?
And then I times 2.
Times by 2. Good, that's exactly right. Multiply by 2. Cancel. Now, no, I'm not. Now that multiplying is a positive 2. don't flip. Only if you multiply by negative 2 or divide by negative 2. Does that make sense?
So you're not count for the negative 6?
No, I don't care about, yeah, so really good question. It's not what's there, it's what I bring in new. The negative 6 is already there. I don't care what's there. Negative, positive, funny elephants, who cares? It's not what's there, it's what I do new that makes the symbol flip. If I bring in a negative 2 to multiply or divide, brand new that wasn't there, then I've got to flip. Does that make sense? So I'm just doing a positive 2. There's no flip in there. So same answer. Yeah. Only if you multiply or divide by negative. Only if you bring in a negative 2 to multiply or divide by. Or any negative number. Good. Other questions on that? That make sense? So there's several ways you can do that problem, huh? All right. Second, yeah, so they're saying second coordinate. So that means like the first coordinate, the second coordinate. This one is negative. It's a negative number. So this is x and y, isn't it? Right? In which quadrants is the second coordinate negative? Meaning the y, right? Because x's come first, then y. So what quadrants is the y coordinate negative?
You know what, I was having a really, really hard time with that, is getting it to recognize what I was trying to put in.
Yeah. Well, I'll type it in with you guys here.
Because you gotta do capital I, you can't do 1, you can't.
Okay, I'll do that in a second. We'll see. So first off, what is the answer to the question? Then we'll go to the make it.
4, quadrant 4.
It's quadrant 4 and both those. Both those have negative y values, don't they? Both those are down. Negative y's, huh? Good. So the answer we want to type in is quadrant 3 and quadrant 4. Yeah, now how do we type it in? But everybody good with the answer we want to type in? 3, 4. Right? See, it says type these in, use a comma to separate. So yeah, now let's see how it. All right. It's asking find the coordinates of the y-intercept and the x-intercept for the line displayed. What does it mean, y-intercept, x-intercept? You familiar with that? Yeah, this right here, this dot right there is a y-intercept because it hits the y-axis, huh? And this dot, here, I'll put it over here maybe. This dot right here is an x-intercept. Now, notice what it says. First it wants the y. I guess I'll just do them one at a time. First it wants the y-intercept, and it's asking us to type an ordered pair. Type an ordered pair. What does that mean, ordered pair? Whenever it says ordered pair, it wants two numbers, parentheses with a comma. Getting the hang of that? Yeah, x and y. So right on. X and y, but you have to do the parentheses and the comma. Remember, if you're ever unsure, if you're ever looking to go, what do they want? Just click on the question help, show me an example, enter. You'll see all the format of the answers, right? So, okay. So what does it want for this point right here, this y-intercept point? What's the coordinates of that point? I need two numbers, right? I need an x and a y.
0 and 5.
0 and 5 is excellent. Over 0. Remember, the first number's over. So remember when it comes to the x, y, so if you're starting from the origin, go over 0, up 5. Right on the money. That makes sense. The first number is over. First number is sideways. Second number's up for positive.
Isn't it on
down
3?
Right there.
No, on the X.
It's asking for the y right now.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, so we'll get to the x next. So right now it's asking for the y, so it'll be over 0, up 5. Yeah, the next question will say, what's the x-intercept? So what's the coordinates of this point here? Over 3, up 0, right? X, y, over 3, up 0. We good? So the intercepts. No questions on that? That okay? All right. For everybody, I know sometimes I go kind of fast. It is, if I'm going too fast for you, I'm sorry, I'm not trying to speed along. But I do have to cover a certain amount of material. So it's on YouTube. Remember, all my lectures are on YouTube channel afterwards. I'm famous on YouTube now. I never, before this, you know who set it up for me? because I checked with my colleagues before this best started, some of them that use technology. I'm not a tech guy really. And they all told me, no, you gotta get the iPad and the da-da-da. What's that?
Get to you on YouTube.
Aren't you like a YouTube, like?
No.
No, me either, James. My daughter set it up for me. I had no idea. I just came home and said, my colleagues told me I'm supposed to do a YouTube channel. I don't know how to do that. And Lizzie said, oh, I'll set that up for you, Dad. Da-da-da-da. Yeah, so it turns out you just go out to youtube.com, right? And she laughed. I said, do I need to tell them? She said, they'll all know it.
I have it on my TV.
They know. So it's just us old folks,
Just,
James.
what is it?
We don't know.
What's your name on it?
Yeah, Brett Heron. You just go out to YouTube.
And just type your name
Yeah,
in?
exactly. Yeah. So
Okay.
just go to youtube.com.
Yeah.
Type in, search for Brett Heron.
Because I just tried herring before and.
Didn't that work?
There's
Oh.
others.
Okay, yeah. So go to youtube.com, type in Brett Heron,
Okay.
and then you'll see my different classes. Then click on the Math 201. I think it says M201. And all the lectures are there. I put them up right after class. They are there. So yeah, if you need to play this back more slowly, it's all there. Or just for,
We can pause you.
even Friday night, if you got nothing to do and you're thinking, I could rent a movie or I could watch Mr. Heron's lectures again. Yeah. All right. Yeah, anatomy's hard, huh?
My anatomy teacher, she has to do too.
Yeah, I get a little kickback, so I want you to subscribe. All right. Wait, did I already do this? Where am I? Oh, I'm already on it. Thanks. I'm losing where I'm at. All right, here we are, guys. So let's find the x-intercepts and the y-intercepts. How are we going to do that? I want you to think with me for a second about x-intercepts and y-intercepts. They're asking me, they're giving me the equation. Oops, I can't write it. 3x plus 5y equals, that's 60, yeah, 60. Okay, and they want me, this time they're not giving me a picture, are they? See the difference? Last time it was a picture. This time it's no picture. So how do you find an x-intercept when there's no picture? Yeah, you set y to 0 and you solve. Solve for x. In other words, you take the equation 3x plus 5y equals 0, oh, 60, not 0, but 60. Take the original equation and then you just plug in a 0 for y. Now why? Why do we do that? Look back with me for a second.
Intercept is where y equals 0.
Yeah, look at the x, look at the picture. It's helpful to go back to the last one where we had a picture. Look at the x-intercept. What happens at an x-intercept? You're a dot on the x-axis and your y value must be 0 because you're at a height of 0. If you're on the x-axis, if you're an x-intercept, you're at a height of 0, aren't you? Do you see that? See how the x-intercept has a y value of 0? And vice versa, the y-intercept has an x value of 0. Do you see how from the picture that intercepts, the opposite letter is always 0, huh? See how it's true right there? The y-intercept has x0. The x-intercept has y0. So when they don't even show me a picture and just give me an equation and say find the intercepts, I'll just say x, make y0, y, make x0, and solve. Does that make sense? You could put that on your 3x5 card. All right, so I take this equation they gave me, and I just say, okay, you want the x-intercept? I'll make the y0. Plug that in, then I'll redo it for the other one in a minute. So I just plug in 0 for the y. 5 times 0, that's just 0 and gone. So I get 3x equals 60. What's the last step in solving? Divide by the identical twin. It's 20. So now careful, it's not just 20, it's 20 comma 0, right? Because remember the y0, it has to be there too. Now, let's go over and do the y-intercept. So what are we going to do to find the y-intercept? Make x0. We start over with the same equation again, 3x plus 5y is 60. Plug in the 0 there. Like that, that's gone. 5y is 60. Last step is divide. Y is 12. But it's not just 12, is it? What is it? Well, it's 0, 12, because the x is 0 and the y is 12. So there's that one, there's that one. We got them. Make sense on that? So for intercepts, you make the opposite letter 0, don't you? Because that's just what it means to be an intercept. When you're on the axis line, one of your numbers is 0. The opposite of that is 0. All right, so let's keep moving. All right, so here we go. X plus 2y equals 4. So we just started graphing last time, right? I kind of had to rush it at the end. That's what I'm trying to pace myself so we don't have to rush at the end. So, does anybody remember what we did? It's like the last 10 minutes of Monday. What do we do to graph an equation? Remember, we have to get y alone. We have to start by getting y alone. So let me write now for you some general instructions on graphing. So here's the graphing plan. So the graphing plan. Number 1, get y alone. That's the first thing. So let's do that first. Like, okay, here's the wall. Y is saying, I want to be alone. Get rid of this other stuff so I can be alone. That's our first step. So what do I do to get, y is right here saying, I want to be alone. Get rid of this x, get rid of this 2, so that I can be alone. So what do we do first? Do we do the 2 first? No, that's his comrade right next to it. Save him for last. First, get rid of that x. So what's going to get rid of that x? Subtracting x from both sides. Gone, right? And so then we have 2y. Now you can write 4 minus x. That's okay. It's usually easier to put the x in the front. Minus x plus 4. Is that good so far? Trying to get y alone. What do we have next to do to get y alone? Last step is always divide, because this is 2 times the y. I've got to divide. You'd always divide by the identical twin. Same sign, same everything, right? Divide through by 2. This cancels. What do you get? Negative x over 2. And then 4 over 2. What's 4 over 2? Just 2. 4 divided by 2 is just 2. We good to there? We all happy? Extremely happy with that so far? So that's the first step. Second step, now that we have y equals negative x over 2 plus 2, how do we go to actually graph the thing? Where do we start? Anybody remember from last time? Where do we... Yeah, that 2 that's on the outside is actually what begins your graphing. So that's start, and if it's plus, it's up in the middle. If it's minus, then it's down in the middle. It says middle. It's off the screen, huh? It says up or down in the middle. So plus 2, up 2, right in the middle. So that'd be right there. Everybody see that first dot? Up 2, right. But if that was a minus 2 out here, I would go down 2. But it's always on the middle line. Huh? Your first dot is on the y-axis. It's actually a y-intercept, isn't it? Up or down, right in the middle line. That's your first step. We just need one more dot now. We're halfway there. All you need is 2 dots. Connect the 2 dots, and you've got your line. Okay?
So now you're going to do a rise and run?
Now it's rise and run time, huh?
You're
Now,
going to come down.
I don't have a number up here.
2.
Hold on. I need a number up here and a number down there. I need a rise up here and a run down there. This is run.
Wouldn't it be 1?
Yes, so if it's missing, it's 1. You stick in the 1, right? If there's a number missing, or if they're both missing, they're both 1, huh? Yeah. And what about the minus sign? What do you do with him?
Down 1.
Yeah, you put it.
To the right 2.
That's it. It's going to be down 1, right 2, isn't it? Right? So now we do rise.
Put the negative on the top number?
Yes, always put the negative on the top number. Technically, you can put it on either. I'll show that in a minute, but for now, and I'll show both. But for now, let me say the easiest way to go, negatives, put them on the top number. Just stick them on the top number. It's really technically, you can put it on the bottom, and I'll show all that in a minute, but let me keep it simple at first. Just put that minus on the top number. Put that minus on the top number. So that's why, so basically we're saying rise, negative 1, run, positive 2. So what does that mean? Down 1, over 2. It's so small I can't hardly make it. There we go. Can you read that at all? Yeah, it's not bad, I guess. So I went down 1 over 2. So there's my 2 dots. Everybody see what happened there? Down 1 over 2. Then just play connect the dots. So, which MathXL will do for you automatically. I'll go back and show you how MathXL does it again. But that's what my graph looks like. So one more time, we get y alone. So you do the work to get y alone. And then once you have y alone, you start with the number off to the right. That's your starter. Positive is up the middle, negative is down the middle. It was a +2. So I went up 2 and put my first dot. And then I look at the fraction, the 2 numbers next to x, for rise and run. If one of them's missing, it's a 1, and any negative signs go on the top number. So down 1 over 2. So I went down 1 over 2. So there's my 2 dots. Connect the dots. I've got my line. Yeah?
So the rise is -1 instead of going rising when you go up 1?
Yeah, so what if I said,
From 2?
so what is a negative rise? Let's say that plane is rising negatively. What does that mean? Come down.
Okay.
So a negative rise is down.
Okay.
So it went down 1 over 2. Does that make sense?
Rise, even though it's a -1, I still.
Went up,
One of
huh?
the ones that's a rise.
Yeah, so if it's positive, it is a rise. But if it's negative, it's a fall, really.
Okay.
So it's really a rise fall, you
If
know?
it was like -3, I would go down -3.
You would go down
So
3.
it's on the positive y-axis.
Doesn't matter where it's at.
Okay.
If it's negative, you're going down 3. -3, down 3. Yeah. Does that make sense? On that, is that good? Questions I can answer? Shall we try another one? Shall we try a lot of them? All right, so try that one. You have 2x plus y equals 4. So try that one. I want to graph it. What's the first step? Get y alone. Get y alone, right? First step is to get y alone. Get y by itself. So if you guys have your technology with you, you can be getting your homework done during this time. Question?
Yeah. When it says 2x, you can always take it to the rise and run, it should be like 2 over 1, right?
But first we got to move it over though.
Okay, got
Okay, y alone, so we need -2x over there. Move it over. When things jump to the other side of the equal sign, they change signs. Have you noticed that pattern? Right? So my first step would be to subtract 2x from both sides, right? Because I got to get y alone, right? Remember the first step, step 1 is get y alone. And if you guys want to, can we do a shortcut from now on? Can we just say, look, when the 2x goes to the other side, it'll become a -2x. Because that's always the effect, right? When something jumps to the other side, it changes the sign in the front of it. If it was negative, it becomes positive. If it was positive, it becomes negative. Just to save a step, you can just grab it and jump it. And so it'll become -2x plus 4. I can't subtract those, can I? Because they're unlike terms. If that was 4x minus 2x, I could subtract them. But it's not. So they just sit side by side. They can't interact. They're unlike terms, right? Everybody good to that point? I got y alone. So now graph it. Now go to the graph. Where do you start?
At 4.
The number off to the right. The number off to the right. That's up 4 because it's positive, huh? 1, 2, 3, 4. Right there. There's your first dot. Add up 4. Probably going to run out of room. Let me move that over. Where do we go from there? What do you got to do the slope, which is supposed to be the fraction next to x. So it's got no bottom here, no denominator. So what do? What do you put down there? Yeah, always a 1 when something's missing there on the fraction. When something's missing on the fraction, it's always 1. So that's rise over run. So what do? Down 2 over 1. That's another dot on the line. And normally, that's good enough. Connect those 2 dots, you got the line. That'll be great on the test. But MathXL wants you to hit the grid line. So just do the thing again. Down 2 over 1. There it is. So I just went down 2 over 1, down 2 over 1. And I found another dot on the grid line. They want you to give them that dot, and they'll be happy. Good on that? Is that making sense? So we get y alone, and then we start with the number off to the right, up 4, and go down 2 over 1, down 2 over 1. All right. Okay, so let's try that one. So 3x plus 4y is 12. Same kind of thing. They want you to graph it. Solve for y, right? First step is to get y alone. So I'm just going to grab that 3x and jump it to the other side. What will that 3x become when it jumps to the other side? Negative. In the front of it, right? The sign in the front changes. Becomes negative 3x. And the plus 12 was... where did that plus sign come from? Well, really, it was always understood to be in front of the 12. There's nothing in front of the 12, which means plus. So that's always been there, really, right? Good to there. Now, one more step. You got to finish getting y alone. What do you do to finish getting y alone? Divide through. 4, 4, 4, right? Identical twin. Whatever's next to y, the identical twin, divide through by it. Everybody, got to be all 3 of them, right? So y equals minus 3/4 x plus 3, right? 12 over 4 is just 3. We're ready to graph. Now go to the graph. So find your first dot. Where's the first dot? Up 3. You start up 3. In the middle. It's always in the middle line, huh? Up 3, there's my first dot. And then rise over run. Where does that negative go?
Back down.
Yeah, down 3. Yeah, so I'm going to go down 3, 1, 2, 3, all the way to 0, over 4. There's my dot. They're both on the grid lines, so MathXL's happy. Whoops, I missed. But anyway, connect the dots. There we go. It's a big target. Here we go. All right. Good on that? Questions? We're good? Making more sense? Get y alone. Get your 2 dots.
Different on
Okay, yeah, so x minus 6 equals y. Yeah, try that one. Let's graph that one. First step is to get y alone. What do we have to do here? It's already alone. Nothing. Y is already alone. Don't need to do anything. So just go right to graphing. Right? Find your first dot. Y is already. It doesn't matter right side, left side. We don't care about that. As long as y is alone, we're happy. That's right. First dot's down 6, right? First dot is down 6. So first dot's at down 6. You start down 6. Is that good for the first dot? And now we need the fraction in front of x to be our slope to tell us rise over run. What fraction's in front of x? 1 over 1. You need both numbers, 1 over 1, right? Because that's just 1 times x, which doesn't change anything. So that's rise over run. They're both positive. Yep, up 1 over 1. There's your second dot. Now, do they say intercepts? Oh, they do. So you've got to keep, like, staircase. Right? So this is 1, 2, 3. I'm going to run out of room here. It's going to be off the screen. All these dogs are making me redo this whole thing. All right. You got to redo the whole thing. Math Excel. All right. So 1, 2, 3. Whoops, I'm off the screen again. I can't make this happen. All right. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So there we go. Start it down 6. And then march off 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's where it's going to end up. Let me show you. So we go up 1 over 1, dot, 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 up 1 over 1, dot. That's the one they want. They want this dot, and they want that dot. Connect the dots with a straight line. Mine looks a little curvy, but that's it. Yeah, so you've got to go all the way. That's actually at over 6, isn't it? That makes sense. These are the 2 dots Math Excel wants because, again, they say use the intercepts. They won't always say that. In a little bit, that'll be over. Today, even. Make sense? Questions on that one? So if there's only one letter, like just x is minus 6, only one letter, it's a straight line, and of course all the lines are straight, but I think you know what I mean by that. I mean it's straight vertical or straight sideways through the axis. So in other words, if x will hit, it's going to hit the x-axis at negative 6. So if there's just one letter, instead of 2, there's just one letter, it's going to be a straight line, meaning straight vertical or straight horizontal. How you find it is you just go to that axis. You just say x-axis, negative 6. Which one's the x-axis? This one. Go to negative 6. Here's negative 6. It's got to, where's negative 6? I can't see. There we go. There's negative 6. It's got to be a line through that dot. And just that spot.
Is that because it's...
So it's got to be vertical. Does that make sense? If I made it sideways, it would hit all the x values. And that's not right. It's only supposed to hit x as negative 6. So it's vertical. Does that make sense? It spears through the x-axis at negative 6. And that's it. And that's it. You just got to click any 2 dots. I'll show you how to do the Math Excel thing in a second. Did everybody get the idea there? So if you only have one letter, it's always going to be a straight line, meaning straight vertical or straight horizontal, and just hit the axis. If it's x, hit the x-axis at negative 6. Like that. So let me show you, if you got that down, let me show you. Yeah, it'll be on the y-axis. Whoops. All right, so let's just make one up. So what if we had y equals negative 2? Go ahead, guys. Let you graph that and see if you can figure out what that would look like. I'm getting all x's. It'll randomize it for you if you get some y's. Try that one. Y equals negative 2. Graph that one. So it's going to be a straight line, horizontal or vertical. It's going to straight. It's going to hit the y-axis at negative 2. Which one's the y-axis? The vertical one. It's going to hit at negative 2. Where's negative 2 on the y-axis?
Down 2.
Down 2. There's negative 2 on the y-axis. It's going to hit it right there. Perfect. Yeah. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I thought it was going to go horizontal.
Is that good? So it hits the y-axis at negative 2. So if you just have one letter, just x or just y, it's going to be a straight line, vertical or horizontal, through that axis. Okay. Question?
I'm on 13.
Okay, yeah, we'll. Okay, x equals 9 halves. Let me let you graph that one. I'll give you a second. That one's got a little trick. throwing the curveball in there on you. Roberto's here. I was calling attention. He really wants me to point him out. He's our class tutor, so you know he's got to take off now. But come see him. His hours. Where's your hours? Did they reach your hours?
I guess so. I didn't hear this on Friday.
Thank you, bro. Yeah, he'll put his hours up. He checks in with us, so he'll show you the same ways. It's the best tutor for your money. All right, so what should I do, guys? What do you do with x equals 9 halves? You know the mistake I see people make a lot is they look at that and they go, okay, I know that's a up 9 over 2, rise over run.
Would you add a 0?
It's not, because that's not a slope. Why is that not a slope? Slopes, so don't think any fraction is a slope. Not true. Any fraction next to x is a slope. Remember, we have y equals, the fraction has to be next to x to be a slope. That is not next to x. That's not a slope. That's not a 9-2 thing. What is it? Divide it on your calculator. It's 4.5. That's just x equals 4.5. Does that make sense? When you only have one letter, it's going to be a straight line. It's not going to be a 9-2 thing. It's going to be a straight line. 9 halves is 4.5 or 4.5.
So you go with 4.5.
Exactly. You just. Well, it's going to hit the x-axis. The x-axis at 4.5. Yeah. So over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So here's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Just go right between 4 and 5, halfway. I kind of missed it a little bit. And it's just a vertical line going through 4.5. Does that make sense? Because we know when there's only one letter that it's a perfectly straight line, right? It can't be any slope stuff. Slopes are only when they go diagonal, huh? That makes sense? So just go over to 4.5 and put a straight line through the x-axis at 4.5. Questions on that? That won't fool you now, right? All right, so try this one, guys. 5x plus 25 is 0. I want you to graph it.
Oh, I'm not doing that one. I'm on 18. What do you got on your phone? Can I see?
Yeah.
Track 25. Track 25. What you got?
Yeah, good. All right. I'm glad you. Feel free to ask me if you have these questions on it, since you're going higher and stuff. All right. So as we look at this thing, notice it doesn't have a y. It's only got x. So we know it's going to be a straight line. You guys catching that, right? When you only have one letter, it's either going to be straight sideways or straight vertical, right? It's not a normal one that has a slant and we do a slope. None of that, right? Because it's only got one letter. So it's going to be straight vertical or straight horizontal. We should solve for x. So what do we do to get x alone? Jump that 25 or subtract it. You know, I'm just going to start the shortcuts of jumping things. Becomes a negative. So subtract 25 from both sides or just jump it. The sign changes, right? Last step always is divide by the identical twin. And that's -5. Okay, so x is alone. What do we do? Yeah, go to -5 on the x-axis. And zip right through there at -5, straight line. Right through -5. Good? So again, one letter only, straight line. All right. Screen. Okay, yeah, so can you come up with the equation of that line? We're playing it backwards. They're giving us the picture. Now they want the equation. What's the equation of that thing? Y equals, it's like 4, doesn't it? Yeah, it's a straight line. It's only got one letter, right? And it's going through the y-axis of 4. Good? Easy enough? Okay, so it wants me to find the slope between these 2 points on this question. Find the slope between these 2 points. There's a couple of ways you can do it. I'll show you 2 ways. Slope is, remember the formula for slope? Yeah, rise over run. Rise over run. So you could just look at the picture and kind of count them. That's fine. You know, you could just say, well, how do you get from here to here? You just count your dots. If you can see all that, it's kind of tiny. What is it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Is it 9? Yeah, 9. So I went down 9. So the rise is, it's negative because I went down, huh? Down 9. And then how far over? Over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Is that 9 also? I kind of lost track. Is it 9? Is that right? So that fraction just becomes -1, doesn't it? I'll say, or you could use, have you seen this formula before? y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. You can use that formula. So you have to look at the original point here. What is it? -4, 4. So I'm gonna redo the problem. The answer is -1. I'm gonna redo the problem now using the new formula. And so to do that, you've got to use the point. What was it? It's -4, 4. And what's the other point? I can't see it. 5, -5. 5, -5. And this will be the x1, y1. This will be the x2, y2. Are you tracking with me, man? Going too quick? Is this making sense? So here's a second way to do the problem. You take the 2 points that they're giving you, and you call the first point x and y sub 1. And the second point, x and y sub 2. Those are little subscripts just to notate this is the second x and y. This is the first x and y. And then you plug in. Question? You good? All right, so plug into the formula. y2, what's that?
You can't divide by 0.
No, we can't divide by 0. It'll work out. So y2 minus y1, what's y2? -5. Minus, notice there's minus signs right in the formula. That's in addition to any items that are negative. There's minuses in the formula, and there might be minuses in the plugins. So y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1, -4. Double negative, positive. Everybody see what happened on the bottom there? There's the subtraction symbol from the formula, and then the negative on the -4. So we got 2 negatives. You know that means add, right? Yeah. So we get -5 minus 4, -5 plus 4 in the bottom, because the double negative means add. And that's -9 over -1. 2 negatives? Positive, regular, 9. Hey, what happened? What did I do wrong, guys? y2 minus y1 over x2. Oh, what? I made this a -5 and it never was. Thank you. That's a 9 on the bottom. Boy, that's crazy. Sorry. I was just testing you. All right, 9. So that's -1. Same answer. It's important we get the same answer. Is that good? Does that make sense? On the bottom, it was 5, and then the double negative became plus in the middle. I shouldn't have been changing the sign on that 5. Nothing in front of him changes. Just the sign in the middle becomes positive, right? We good? So it's -1. Either by formula, you're going to have to use this formula in a minute anyway, because they won't give you a picture in a minute. So they give you a picture, you can just count if you want, rise and run. But you can always use the formula, even if they don't give you a picture. So you're going to want to write that formula on your 3x5 card for the next exam. We have an exam. When do we have an exam? It's week after next, huh?
Next, week after that,
Don't we?
or is next week?
What is today? Oh, we're off a little bit. Yeah, it's going to be a week from. It's going to be. Oh, you know what? I moved it. I'm sorry. Yeah, if you look at the schedule, let me mention. I have had to alter our schedule. So our exam is going to be the 13th. So it's week after next on Monday. Yeah, it was going to be Monday coming up, but I moved it back a week. So Monday the 13th is exam number 2. Week from Monday. All right, let's move. All right, try that one. So we have -3, 5, and 2, -1, and we want to find slope. So what's the slope formula? y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Let's go ahead and use that slope formula. So this is x1, y1, x2, y2. y1. Everybody good with all that? Everybody see what I'm plugging in there? So I just plugged in on the top there, y2 minus y1. y2, y1, right? And then x2, x1. And there's built-in, I made them a different color for emphasis. The subtraction symbols are part of the original formula, right? In fact, I could fix it even better if I made the same color over here. Right, everybody seeing that? There's subtraction symbols in the original formula. That's in addition to negatives that I plug in. All right, what do we get? -6 over 2 plus 3, right? That double negative right here. 2 negatives head-to-head become plus, as you know. And so what is that? -6/5. That's the slope. We good on that? Questions I can answer? All right. Yeah, they want you to plot the points. That's true. All right, same thing here. -16, -10, -17, -18. Find the slope. You know the formula, y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Try that one. One more time. Be careful of all those negative signs. Use your calculator. You need to. Number 3. See how you did the X's on the top on accident? I do the Y's on the top. All right, so here we go. So we have x1, y1, x2, y2. Yeah, make sure you do the y values on the top. It's natural to grab the x's because they're coming in the front, but the formula says the y's must be on the top. So grab the two second values, right? The y's go on the top. It's rise over run. Y's or rise. Y's are up, down, huh? So grab the two y values. So negative 18 and negative 10, right? Negative 18, negative 10. And on the bottom, negative 17 and negative 16. Like that. Oops, did I just reverse that?
Yeah.
What am I doing there?
16 with 10, I think.
Yeah, so I have it the other way. So, there. Those arrows are getting confusing. There. All right, and then you got to put minuses in the middle, right? Minuses are from the formula. So we have the subtraction symbols from the formula, and then all four numbers are negative. Good so far? So I just plugged in the four numbers. The second y value minus the first y value. Second x value minus the first x value. Right? Now what do you do with these negatives head to head? Positive, right? Negative 18 plus 10, negative 17 plus 16. The two negatives head to head become plus, don't they? And so what do we got? Negative 8 over negative 1. What's that? Two negatives? Positive regular 8. Is that good? How many got that? Got positive regular 8? Not that many, huh? Questions I can answer. Is that good? You don't like that one? Some like that one? Question, James. Negative 18 plus 10?
Okay.
Hold on, so I'm just adding and subtracting here. Yeah, so everybody see how I position the numbers, right? The formula says y2 minus y1. That's what you want to write in your 3x5 card. y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So I took the y2 and the y1, the x2 and the x1. Right? And then just worked out the numbers. You can use a calculator. You got those answers. A roof slope is called the pitch of a roof. So slope is the same as pitch. It's rise over run. So what's the rise for that roof? It's the 1.8. That's the rise, huh? What's the run? There it is. 14.3. Yeah, this is a super easy one. Just divide on your calculator. So calculator, just hit the buttons. 1.8 divided by 14.3. And tell me what you got. Anybody got something? 0.125? Like that? Is that good? Anybody else getting that same thing? Good. Sounds good. Okay, now that's our answer, except they want a percentage notice. So how do you take 0.125 and change it to percentage? What happens when you put a percent symbol on it? Two places. So it's like a magnet. Pulls that little piece of metal towards it. Right? So it becomes 12.5%. Does that make sense? But you see what I did there? So slope is rise over run. I just did the rise number over the run number. Divided on my calculator, 0.125. And then I changed it to percentage, which moves it 2 to the right. 12.5%. Now, last thing, there is one thing I need to do. Notice the blue line. Always pay attention to their blue line. Round to the nearest percent. They want a whole percent. They don't want 12.5.
Well, 5 you round up.
Right. So what's it going to be? 13% is actually the answer they want, since they say round to the nearest whole percent. Yeah. So that's the answer. Does that make sense? And just rise divided by run. Use your calculator. All right. Okay, so this one is a little tricky. We have a base, we have a mountain. We're going to try to figure out the grade. Grade is another fancy word for slope. All these things we do in real life, Like the grade of a mountain or the grade of a road. Sometimes you'll see that. They're called the grade of a road. It's just a slope. It's just a slope. For a roof, it's called pitch. For a road or a mountain, it's called grade, but it's all just slope. It's just steepness is all it is. And it's all just rise over run. So you just want to keep using that. Slope is rise over run. All right, so how do you know how much this mountain rises?
So you take 14,812 and subtract 8,900.
Perfect. Because it rises from 8,900 to the 14,812. So you got to subtract those to find out how much it's gone up, huh? Everybody see that? You start at 8,900, which seems high to me. And you go even higher to the summit, 14,812. So you got to subtract those to find out how much it's risen, right? What the rise is. And the bottom, it says it's over a horizontal distance. So that's the run, right? The sideways. 15,836. So can I go dot, dot, dot? You just subtract those, divide on your calculator, get a decimal, change it to a percentage. Just like we did the last one. On that one. Is that good? Anybody got like a final answer on that one? 37%? Everybody else getting that same thing? Good. Sounds like 37%. Is that true? Got a couple people getting that? All right. Good deal. All right. Fancy ways of asking us to do slope. That's all that's going to happen here. So this is a bunch of fancy talk. I'm not even going to read those words. Blah, 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 blah. Point, find the slope. That's all they're saying. They're calling it rate of change. A slope is a rate because it's one thing over the other. So it's just slope. It's just fancy talk for slope. Question? We good? So what's the slope? It's rise over run, like always. So we're going from this dot to that dot. So how do you go? 1, 2, 3. It's down 3. Over 1, 2, 3. It's 1. Oh, that's positive. Answer's -1. Thank you. Yeah, because it was down 3, right 3, wasn't it? To go from the dot to the dot. It was down 3, right 3. So it was -3 over +3. So the answer was -1. Good on that? These are all just slope. Just problem after problem after problem. Rise over run, rise over run, rise over run, rise over run. They just keep doing the same thing. Slope, 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 slope. So now we'll do slope in an equation. So when they give me an equation, minus 10x plus 6, anybody know where the slope is when you've got an equation? Yeah, remember we talked about that. The slope, yeah, mx plus b. Yeah, the general form is the mx plus b. In other words, the thing next to x, that's your slope, done. Nothing more to do. Just an identification game. They just want to make sure you know that the slope is the number next to x. So just showing a slope in all different kind of settings. Pictures, mountains, equations, right? They're just making sure we're really clear on slope. Sure, you can put it over 1, but they don't want you to type any answers in that are unsimplified. Leaving 1 in the bottom is considered unsimplified. So we just say -10. But you're right. If we had to graph it or something, then we'd want that 1, wouldn't we? Yeah, does everybody understand the 1 thing? The 1 is truly there and it's helpful for rise and run, but if they just want like a final answer, we don't show the 1 because it's considered unsimplified. 10 divided by 1 is just 10. So that's how they want it. All right. All right, so 5x plus 3y is 15. And they're asking for the slope. That's what this section's all about. How do we find the slope on this one? Pretend you're graphing. They're not asking us to graph. And just think for a minute, what if they did? Just pretend with me for a minute. What if they said, hey, graph this thing? What would you do? You'd get y by itself. And then when you did, the slope would be next to x. Yeah. The slope is not the number next to x right now. It's not the 5. It's the number next to x after you get y alone, right? See, the one we did just a second ago already had y alone. So I didn't have to do anything. I just grabbed the number next to x. So first get y alone, then slope is the fraction next to x. So do the work. Y is saying, I want to be alone. Get rid of all this stuff. Let me rewrite it. It's getting a little, running out of room here. So 5x plus 3y is 15. Y is saying, I want to be alone. So what's the first step? Grab that 5x and jump it over. What happens when a positive 5x jumps to the other side? It becomes a negative 5x. The 15 is still over there. Last step is always divide by the identical twin all the way across. Y is alone. What's the slope? Slope is negative 5/3. See, once you get the y alone, then the slope is the fraction next to x. Getting comfortable with slope in all these different settings? All right, so y equals minus 3x minus 9. They're asking me for two things here. They want to know the slope, and they want to know the y intercept. So, what's the slope on this one? Yeah, it's not the x, it's just the number next to x. Yeah, the slope is just the negative 3, right? Remember, when y is alone and y already is alone, slope is just the number next to x, huh? So slope's just negative 3. What's the y-intercept? Yeah, it's just that other number. That's all they want us to do on this one. So they're wanting us to know that when y is alone, remember, that's important, because in a minute they're going to give us ones where y is not alone. And we've got to do the work to get y alone. So when you have y alone, the number next to x is slope, and the other number is the y-intercept. And how we refer to, we call it mx plus b, as somebody said earlier. That's right. The m is what is the letter we use for slope. It comes from a French word meaning mountainous, means steep. And the b, I have no idea why we use b for y-intercept.
Base.
Maybe. Sure. Whatever the reason, we use b for y-intercept. All right. So. All right, find the slope. So y equals 4.5x, asking me for the slope and the y-intercept. Let me give you a second on that one. What's the slope? Yeah, the number next to x. Just the number, not the x, right? And what's the y-intercept? Supposed to be the number out here. 0. Yeah, because it's like there's plus 0 out there. That doesn't change anything. So notice if the added number is missing, it's a 0. If the fraction numbers are missing, they're 1s. Huh. Right? Because multiplying and dividing by 1 doesn't change anything. Numbers next to the x are multiplied, divided. Numbers out here are added. Adding 0 doesn't change anything, right? All right. Do on this one. All right, want to try that one? Minus 8x minus 5y is 15. They're asking again for the slope and the y-intercept. So what do you got to do on this one to get the slope and the y-intercept? Yeah, you got to do the work this time to get y alone first, huh? And then you can grab the slope and y-intercept. So do that work, get that y alone. Okay, so here's the wall. Y is saying I want to be alone, get rid of all this stuff, so I'm going to grab the negative 8x and jump it. So that's plus 8x. Right? Remember when things jump to the other side, they change the sign in front of them. And what's the last step in getting y alone? And what do we always divide by? Identical twin. So same sign, same everything, huh? All the way across, all three of them, huh? This will cancel, y's alone, get 8 over negative 5x. And what's 15 divided by negative 5? It's negative 3, huh? So what's the slope? 8 over negative 5. What's the y-intercept? Negative 3. By the way, what if I put that negative in the top of the 8/5 instead of the bottom? Is that okay? Yeah, it doesn't matter. Right? Because remember, if you have two negatives, that would be positive. But if you have one negative, it doesn't matter where it's at. Right? One negative is just negative. Right? You can even put the negative in the front. Front, top, bottom, it's all the same. As long as there's just one negative in a fraction, it doesn't matter where it's at. Is that good? All right. Y equals negative 16. Find the slope. Find the y-intercept. This one's a trick. Are you feeling tricky after an hour and a half of straight math? Feeling exhausted? Give you a chance. Think. Think tricky. You can't do the normal stuff. Let me give you a hint. Graph that thing real quick. What does that thing look like? What does that thing look like? What does it look like? Do a little graph real quick. That'll help you. What's special? There's something weird about that equation. What's weird? He's not normal. He's only got one letter. There's no x. Remember what we talked about half an hour ago? When there's only one letter, what does the graph look like? Straight line. It's either straight horizontal or straight vertical. Which one's this? Where does it hit? It hits which axis? Which axis does it hit? The y-axis. Where? Down at negative 16. Right? It's a sideways line down there. Does that make sense? Because it has to hit the y-axis at negative 16. Is that making sense? Everybody see that? By the way, it's not the way you would naturally think, because normally I would look at y and I would think y is up, down. But actually, it means it hits the y-axis at negative 16, so it's sideways. So you got to be a little careful. It's not, it's a little tricky. You got to give it a second thought. Anyway, so there's the line. Okay, so what? Well, how does that help me? They didn't ask me to graph it. Why am I doing that? Well, does that help? What's the y-intercept now? Yeah, where does it hit the y-axis? Clearly negative 16. And what's the slope? Like how steep? What's the steepness? That's slope. Slope is steepness. It's just 0, isn't it? That line's not going up or down. It's a 0 slope, huh? It's flat. Does that make sense? It was a trick one. Why was it a trick one? Well, because normally I tell you to look next to x to find the slope, but there is no x. I can't look next to x. There is no x. See the problem? See why we needed to be a little more tricky? And just realize it's a flat line. Does that make sense? All right. Here we go. All right. They're going to ask me to find the picture. You guys feeling okay? Make sure you get this down well. I know we got 20 more minutes, but a lot of math, but this is really important. Get this down well. Here we go. This is going to be a messy stuff, but it's kind of the same every time. You can get real good at it. Basically, when they give us some information and they ask me for the equation of the line. So let me just write that, equation. When they ask you for the equation of the line, what I'm going to give you a different way than you'll get if you click on the help button, because I found it's easier for students. I'm going to write the slope formula that we've been, M. M is what we use for slope because it stands for mountainous, a French word. Anyway, normally when I write the slope formula, remember what it is? It's y2. Don't write this down. I'm going to change it. But normally it's y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1, right? I'm going to use a new version of the slope formula, and it's not going to be much different. I'm just going to erase the little I'm going to erase the little 2 here, and erase the little 2 here, and just make it norm. Whoops, I'm going to erase everything, because I'm making a mess. I'm going to just make it plain y and plain x. That's the only change I'm going to make. So instead of y2 minus y1, it's just plain y minus y1. And instead of x2 minus y1, it's plain x. Now, why am I doing that? Well, they're going to just stay x and y. Not going to plug any numbers into them. That's what I mean by making that change. It's don't plug anything into them. Just leave them be. Go over here now. Slope -8. Where am I going to plug that? That's m, huh? Slope is m. The y stays y and the x stays x. Guess what I'm going to do with the 0, -12? I have a y1 slot and an x1 slot. This one's x1, this one's y1. It's my only point. I don't have an x2, y2. It's my only point. So plug x1 in for x, behind x, put the y behind the y. Are you tracking with me? Everybody see what I did there? I put the slope of -8 into the m slot, because that's what m stands for, mountainous slope. And I put the x behind the x and the y behind the y. Everybody good? So I'm using the same slope formula we've been using, except I just kept the front, plain y, plain x, because they only gave me one pair of numbers to plug in. They didn't give me 2, like they did on some of the other problems, right? They only gave me x1, y1. They didn't give me an x2, y2, did they? Everybody good with that so far? Now, to solve this, I'm going to put this over 1, and I'm going to go diagonal, diagonal, and cross multiply. Have you seen that before? I think we did that once or twice, haven't we? -8 times x minus 0, 1 times y plus 12. Let me hold on there for a minute and let you digest that. Do you see what I did? These 2 minuses right here just became plus, didn't they? So,
How did you get 2 minuses?
y minus whatever y1 is. What's y1? Y minus minus 12. Right? There's a subtraction in the formula, and there's a negative on the y1.
Where's the subtraction in the formula?
There it is. I'm giving you the formula. Yeah, the formula automatically is subtractions, top and bottom, automatically. So then if anybody's negative, with 2 negatives, it becomes plus. So I'm going diagonal, -8 times x minus 0, and diagonal, and laying them flat. Everybody see that? Diagonal, diagonal, laying them flat, and boom, boom, -8x. And we're distributing. What is -8 times 0?
0.
Just 0. Plus 0, minus 0, whatever, it's just 0, huh? And 1 times these guys, y plus 12. Everybody good to there so far? We're just one step away. What are we trying to do? They want you to get y alone at the end, like all the other ones, So I've got to finish by y is saying, I want to be alone. What do I got to do to get y alone?
-12.
-12. Subtract that 12. From both sides, gonzo. So what do we have? -8x minus 12 is y. That's the answer. Questions? Everybody see that? So we're going to do a whole bunch of these now in the next 15 minutes, pretty much just like this. One after the other, after the other, after the other, just like this. So we'll practice it for 15 minutes here. You can look back over the YouTubes. So does everybody see what I'm doing? So when you get the equation question, you write the slope formula, which is difference of y's over difference of x's, subtraction of y's over subtraction of x's, and you put the plain y and the plain x in front. So because you've only got one pair of numbers, plug those in the back, put your slope in the front, and then go diagonal, diagonal, distribute, and get y alone. All right, let's try the next one. All right, so there's those keywords. Find the equation. Find the equation. So what formula, when you see the words find the equation, you got to know what formula. You know what's hard? There's a lot of things that are hard in math. One of the main things that's hard is identification. You know, you can read and go, I've done all this stuff. How do I know what thing I'm supposed to do now? Is that the slope thing? Is that the cross multiply thing? Is that the graph that's straight? Or, you know, how do I keep all this straight? So I'm going to try to help you with that as we go through. So I'm identifying the tag. When you see the words, find the equation, you'll never see that in any other situation than this. When you see find the equation on the exam a week from Monday, you go, that's the slope thing. That's the plane y and plane x with the slope thing. So you go, all right, m equals plane y, plane x, subtract y1, x1. It's like the regular slope formula, but the plane y and the plane x in the front. That's what you always do when they say find the equation. So you should put that in your 3x5 card. When they say find the equation, you write that every time. That's the tag. That's what you want to identify. Find the equation. Write that. All right, so now plug in the stuff you need to plug in. Question?
Okay, so if it's one-sided numbers, it'll always be just the single y and single x.
Yeah.
But if it's two sets of numbers,
Then
you
you
have the slope equation, you just have the two.
Yeah, you plug in all four in that time. Yeah, exactly right.
Okay.
So if they give me two sets of numbers, then I plug in all four.
But you have to find the second set of numbers if you use the slope, which is 3, so you're gonna.
They wouldn't give you the slope in that case. Oh, we'll do one of those for a
M
minute.
equals 3.
Yeah, they did in this case. I'm talking about a different case. Yeah, we'll get there in a minute. Yeah, so for this one, just plug these numbers in the back, plug the slope in the front, right? Everybody see that? So plug the slope in right here. And so plug the slope in right there. And what am I going to put in the back? Put the x value behind the x and the y behind the y, huh? So y minus 0 and x minus -4. Double negative again. So it's going to become plus, yeah. Everybody see what happens? I just took the x value and I put it behind the x. And I grabbed the y value and I put it behind y. And there are subtraction symbols right in the formula. And then so double negative, you know, positive, right? Is that good to there? This is going to be plus. Good to there.
And you put a 1, right? Over 3?
Yeah, and then you put 3 over 1, exactly right. Make it look like a fraction. And then what do we do from here?
Cross.
Go diagonal, diagonal, cross multiply. Is that good? So then we write it. 3x plus 4 equals 1, y minus 0. Does everybody see what I'm doing there? So I write the slope formula, plug in the slope, put the x behind the x and the y behind the y.
Oh, okay.
The x goes behind the x, and the y goes behind the y. And then I put the 3 over 1 to make it look like a fraction. I go diagonal, diagonal, and lay them flat. Is that good? And then distribute. 1 times y is just y. 1 times 0 is 0. Skip it, we're done. Because y is alone.
Y equals 3.
Yep. Does that make sense? questions I can answer on that? Okay, try that one. What tag would you recognize on the test a week from Monday that would tell you to do this whole m equals thing?
Find an equation of the line.
Find the equation of the line. That's the tag. They'll never say that in any other situation.
That line, like, equated with rattlesnake for a while in my brain, like, every time I would see that, I would like panic.
Okay.
I was very scared of that, because I could not remember that formula.
Well, I hope your fear gets better now. Does that make sense there like that? So as soon as you see find the equation, you write slope equals difference of y's over difference of x's, right? Automatically first step. All right, plug in. Plug in the 0, 3 behind the x and behind the y, right? Because 0 is an x value. 3 is a y value. And plug the -4 in for m. We good? So the x value of 0 and the y value of 3 go behind them. Is that good to there? Is that making sense? So I put the x behind the x and the y behind the y. Right? And now, what's our next step? Yeah, put this over 1, make it look like a fraction, and then diagonal, diagonal, cross multiply, right? We always make a whole, if it was a whole number, make it look like a fraction. Diagonal, diagonal. Take it from there. We good to there? Diagonal, diagonal. And then distribute. Negative 4x plus 0. Y minus 3. Everybody good to there? Bring it up here. Negative 4x plus 0. Y minus 3. Y's got to be alone, right? What's the last step to get y alone there? Add the 3. Y equals negative 4x plus 3. We okay with that? Okay. Okay. So number 17, blah, 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 blah. I'm not even going to read those words. Equation of the line. That's all I need to see. Equation of the line. Right? Blah, blah, blah. Who cares? Equation of the line. So what does that mean I need to do? M equals, right? That's what I'm saying. You guys catching on with that? It's really important to make it in a math class is identification. Playing that game well. Like name that too. Name that method. But you got to have certain words that just key you. And you put them on your 3x5 card. Find the equation, M equals. Right away. Right away. Okay, now, here's the trick on this one. On this one, they're not just giving me 1 point, right? Not just giving me 1 point. They're giving me 2.
Well, now it becomes m equals
Yeah.
y
Everybody see that?
y2 over x1.
Exactly. See? 2 points. 2 points. So what does that mean? I'm going to do the other way with the y2, y1, x2, x1, where you plug in all 4 numbers instead of just the 2 at the back. So everybody see how you know which one to do? If they just give you one pair of numbers, then you just put that pair at the back. But if they give you two pairs, like 4 numbers, then put in all 4. Everybody see that difference? So sometimes they just give us one pair at the back. That's what the last 3 problems did. And sometimes they give us 2 pairs, like 4 numbers. So then you plug in all 4 when they give you 4 numbers. Just plug in what they give you, how about, right? If they only give you 2, put in 2 at the back. If they give you all 4, put in all 4. So I'm going to put them in. All right, so this is x1, y1, right? That's the first points, x and y. This is x2, y2. That's the second points, x and y. So we're going to do this problem. I want to do one more, and then I'll give you a free click. This is what I end up doing a lot because I run out of time. So I'll just put it up there and say, click A, get your free points and go. So I want to do this one. I want to give you one of these 4 ones so you're comfortable, and then we've covered it. So y2 minus y1, 117 minus 149. Everybody see where I'm getting those? The y value minus the y value. Right? And then x value minus x value. Right? 60 minus 20. And so that's slope. What does that work out to be? You guys have a calculator? Minus 32 over 40. Does that reduce nicely? You can divide by 8, top and bottom, huh? Negative 4/5, yeah. Everybody good with that? Everybody see what I did? Just divided by 8, top and bottom. Got negative 4/5. Now, we're not done. That's the slope. That's the slope. So now, let me erase this, get this out of the way. Now, I have to finish the problem and come up with the equation, because they actually asked for the equation. So what does that mean you do? That means you start again with the m formula a second time, but this time, you're only going to use it with the blanks at the back. Does this make sense? All of that first work was just to get my hands on the slope, where I plugged in all 4 numbers, because they gave me 4 numbers, plugged them in and got my hands on the slope. And then once you got the slope, now we're starting where the last 3 problems started. See, on the last 3 problems, they handed you the slope, didn't they?
Okay, so it goes x, or y2 minus y1 over
Yeah.
x2 minus x1, and then it goes to...
Then just the back.
Okay.
Yeah, so everybody's seen that. They, on the last 3 problems, they gave me the slope right in the beginning. Remember, they handed it to me on a silver platter. Here's the slope. This one, they did not. Instead, they gave me the 4 numbers. So I put in the 4 numbers, found my own slope. Once you have the slope, that's part 1. Then you go up and do what we did on the last 3 problems. Now you plug the slope, negative 4 over 5, into the m, because that's what slope means. And now you still have the plane y and plane x. And now you just take one pair of these numbers, it doesn't matter which pair, and put them in the back. And do the cross multiply thing like we did before. Does that make sense? You can use either pair of numbers. It doesn't matter which pair. We used all 4 here already. And then the second time, either pair. You can't mix and match. You can't take one of these and one of those. You know, you take those 2 or these 2. I just grabbed the first pair, the 20 and the 149. Now, they're careful. Make sure the x goes behind x. It's easy to go, oh, I'll put the 20 here, right? I'm looking at this one, the 20, 149. That's wrong. The 20 is an x value. It has to go behind x. I see that mistake made a lot, right? The 20 has to go here, and the 149 there. Does everybody see what I'm doing? I'm writing over the top of it, so it's not the best. But I'm grabbing that point right there, that 20, 149, right? 20, 149, that's an x and a y. Everybody seeing what I'm doing? Everybody smelling what I'm stepping in? That's what they say in the South. I like that saying. You smelling what I'm stepping in? You tracking with me that close? You seeing what I'm doing? Right? So I do the 4 numbers, find the slope. This is where the last 3 problems started. They handed me the slope on a silver platter. I plug in the slope and 1 pair of numbers at the back. Doesn't matter which pair. Put them in the back, but make sure the x goes behind x and the y goes behind y. And then you know what to do from there, right? Diagonal, diagonal. Negative 4, x minus 20, 5, y minus 149, like that, right? And then distribute, negative 4x plus 80, distribute, 5y plus something big, I don't know.
745 negative.
Is that what it is? I'm going to erase this. Yeah, that sounds right. And make a little more room here. Yeah, and what is it, 745?
Yeah.
740. Oh, negative, huh? Negative. Negative. Negative 745. Good. All right. Now we got to get y alone. Y is saying, I want to be alone. So I'll add that 7. These are a lot of work, aren't they? Add that 745. 5y is minus 4x plus something else big, I don't know. 825. Thank you. And last step, if there haven't been enough steps, divide by 5. Minus 4/5 x plus, what is 825 divided by 5? 165. Y is alone. This on the test?
Yeah.
No, it's just for fun. Forget about it. No, of course it's on the test. Everything we do is on the test.
All that work.
Lots of work on these. Lots of work. All right, I'm going to have to stop there. Let me give you a free clicker quiz. Get free points for being here.